we're going to revisit the mark of the beast.
Right.
This is a topic I think that we have to really touch on during this time.
This is the first American company to ever try this. 1 week from today, many of the employees, including the CEO, will voluntarily have the microchips implanted into their bodies. This morning, like a scene straight out of 007.
So you can keep an eye on me?
We have too many people that think the only way that the mark of the beast was going to be implanted was by the chip. Now, if we look at technology and we look at everything that has been implemented today in this age, the chip already has been implemented. You buy and you sell with the chip.
Especially considering that the NSA, for example, already has the capability to turn on your iPhone microphone or activate your laptop camera without you noticing. In early 2016, the FBI asked Apple to produce a backdoor program to disable the encryption of a terrorist's iPhone. Apple publicly declined, not only because this tool could be used to permanently weaken the privacy of law-abiding citizens worldwide, but fearing to open the floodgates for governments requesting access to a technology used by billions of people, a fear shared by security experts and cryptographers. A few weeks later, the FBI revealed that they had hacked the phone themselves, basically admitting that they lied to the public about the need for a backdoor leak of the Snowden documents in 2013. They showed how the NSA can demand information about users from firms like Microsoft or Google, in addition to their daily collection of data from civilian internet traffic, such as email content and contact lists. So instead of focusing on criminals, governments are increasingly turning their attention to everyone.
Like that, but it's a vulnerable time, so it's easy to for the masses or the powers that be to implement whatever they want to implement upon the people.
We just all have to remember, a crisis has to be dealt with. We want to protect people and save lives. And we have our civil liberties, our Constitution to also preserve. And after 9/11, we did a heck of a lot of stuff that in the moment felt really good. But then later on, years later, comes the waste, fraud, and abuse. We're seeing some of those things creep in during this COVID crisis as well. Well, in the weeks since, we've seen a lot of COVID-19 mission creep. Somehow flattening the curve ended up flattening our civil liberties as well. Virginia used the emergency as cover to ram through more anti-gun measures. Michigan and Kentucky, they cracked down on worshipers even when they were social distancing. But there's a new threat to our rights on the horizon, and it's being pushed by the second wealthiest man in the world. Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates and the Gates Foundation, well, they spend hundreds of millions of dollars on research projects around the world. They do a lot of good. And now it's the largest active funder of the World Health Organization as well, despite the WHO's recent COVID failures and coziness with China. Now, according to Gates, the only way to responsibly end the shutdowns and stay-at-home orders is for a pretty vast surveillance system to be put in place. Writing in the Washington Post, the United States can follow Germany's example, interview everyone who tests positive, and use a database to make sure someone follows up with all their contacts. Well, of course, he insists this will all be voluntary.
And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand, or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name.
Apple and Google say they can help. The tech giants have teamed up to build a tool that will alert smartphone users if they've been in contact with someone who has coronavirus. This is called contact tracing, and it's helped a number of East Asian countries to slow the spread. For it to work, though, the public needs to trust that these tech companies won't be able to access or misuse their sensitive health information. And while what's been proposed is an opt-in tool, concerns swirl that it could eventually become mandatory, and that it will prove difficult to roll back data gathering efforts after the crisis passes.
In times of emergency, we tend to be willing to give up much more of our privacy than in normal times, but once given up, that new status quo tends to persist even after the emergency is over.
So the beast is a nation. It's a nation that deals with deception, lies, and falsehood. And this is what this nation is great at. The art of deception, sort of like a magician. One hand is the distraction, so you won't be able to see what is going on in the other hand. And there is when they implement the mark of the beast, deceiving and controlling the minds.
Left to our own devices, you are constantly engaged. Click on that Twitter queue or your email. But how much control do we really have?
It's just addictive, yeah.
Playing all those apps.
He seems to prefer being on his tablet over everything else.
Or maybe they're playing us.
They're all in a technological arms race to keep you there the longest.
It is a real-world experiment, and no one's figured out the risks of all those rewards.
Devil means evil deceiver.
Right.
And I think we forget how much evil deception is going on even during this time. Just as a reminder of what and who we are dealing with. We are dealing with a type of people, right? Go ahead, read that.
Ye are of your father, the devil, and the lusts of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar, and the father of it.
You are being programmed.
Social media tools are designed to be addictive. The actual desired use case of these tools is that you fragment your attention as much as possible throughout your waking hours. That's how these tools are designed to use. Well, we have a growing amount of research which tells us that if you spend large portions of your day in a state of fragmented attention, so large portions of your day where you're constantly breaking up your attention, take a quick glance, do a just check, and just quickly look at Instagram, that this can permanently reduce your capacity for concentration. I am especially worried about this when we look at the younger generation coming up, which is the most saturated in this technology.
And it's very addictive because if you pull on the slot machine arm enough, you will win. And you never know which pull will reward you.
So if the mark of the beast was alone, only the chip, we can now see that we are late. But the fact is, in actuality, the mark of the beast is much, much more.
And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceived the whole world.
So now that we understand we're dealing with a nation that deals with deception and lies. America has been established since the 1700s, over 350 years. So the mark, the lies, the deception, the falsehood, is it only going to start when the chip is released? Or has it already been in motion?
And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet, that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast.
So we understand here in this verse that the outcome is that the beast will be destroyed and the false prophet. But this next point is the most important point to understand: where and when the mark was implemented.
And them that worshipped his image, and them that worshipped his image, these both were cast alive into the lake of fire and burning with brimstone.
So now we're understanding that the mark was implemented with his image. This image began to flourish in the 1500s. Caesar Borgia, the second son of Pope Alexander VI of Rome, had an intimate relationship with Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci painted and put him up as the image of Christ. This is the image of the beast.
And laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images, or made it like some vile beast, laying it over with vermilion, and with paint coloring it red. and covering every spot therein.
This man was a murderer. He had sex with his own sister. This is who they put up as our Savior. This man, this image, is the mark of the beast.
And changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man, and to birds, and to four-footed beasts, and to creeping things. Verse 25. Who changed the truth of God into a lie, and worship and serve the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen.
Every church, every religion, every nation, they bow to this image, which is the image of the beast. This mark has entered into the minds of every man and woman throughout the world, and they praise this image more than they praise the Creator.
In whom the God of this world has blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them.
Was Jesus what color?
Black.
Black? What color was he?
Caucasian.
Jesus was a human. If you're a Christian, you believe that he was the second son of the Blessed Trinity. He was the Son of God. He was divine, but he was expressed in his 33 years on earth as a human being. And now coming forward are not a few very, very active people to say that the presentation of a white Jesus down through history before people of color has served to characterize the Caucasian as superior, as the best, as better than others. And more than that, has perpetuated a lie on the people of color and continued their enslavement.
That's right.
Here's from Revelation. His head and his hairs were white, like wool, as white as snow. And his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace. So it's the brass metaphor that you think lends support to his being a person.
That is what you usually hear, the brass metaphor, and also about the hair. But more specifically, like I said before, because that can be talked away and rationalized away into symbolism.
Yes, it can.
I'm talking about the ancestral lineage of this man. And in fact, as scientists have told us, we all come, and the first man and woman were black. So really, we all have
yes.
blackness in us.
And as we see, no matter what the Bible says, the image of the beast is more powerful to the ones that are blinded than the actual word itself.
Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devil, speaking lies in hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron.
So if we're understanding this correctly, the only way into the conscience is through the mind, to be seared with knowledge. And through this wicked knowledge, they have corrupted the minds of the people, of the masses, and even tried to deceive the chosen. So they have it in their mind, and their works they put forth with their right hand. So in closing, let's talk about the other mark.
And the Lord said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof.
So if the symbolism of the mark meant that it was a computer chip, are we, being believers and the righteous, do we have a chip that we supposed to give to show forth that we are the ones standing against iniquity, lies, and corruption? Or is it the word of the Most High implanted in our mind, the seal of the living power
that takes hold of us. Let's talk about it. Comment, subscribe,